deeply honored to be here on this historic moment. Presidents, ministers, deputy ministers, friends of the ocean, all of you, all of us are witnesses to the most important time in history. And the event that we have just witnessed today signals something positive happening that should give all of us cause for hope. Really, as never before, we now know not only what we did not know until right about now, but what we could not know. When I was a child, no one thought that we could harm the ocean. The ocean is too big to fail, right? It's so vast. It's so resilient that there's nothing that we can do to harm the ocean. There are a lot of people, sadly, who still have that idea. But now we know we have evidence, and it's happened in the lifetime of everyone in this room. Even if there were a 10-year-old in this room, you could say that, because changes are happening at an unprecedented rate, both in a positive way, because we're learning more about the ocean at an accelerated rate. When I was a child, we didn't know about those great mountain chains down the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, or that island countries were the peaks of mountains. We just didn't know. We didn't have the capacity to know. We did not have the technology that would give us that understanding of this little speck of blue in a universe of very unfriendly options for humankind. No one had been to the moon. No one had taken images of Earth from space. No one had satellites up in the sky when I was a child. No one had cell phones in their pocket when I was a child. Not everyone has cell phones in their pockets today, but at least 1 billion of the 7 billion of us do have access to knowledge that is unprecedented, which is what makes this meeting, this SIDS conference, this signing ceremony so important, because it signifies something really important that now we know. We have to act, we have to pull together in ways that 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, any time in preceding human history, there was not the same sense of urgency now upon us. Now that we know what we know, that we are altering the nature of nature, we're seeing the ocean in just the lifetime of people here in this room go from where it was in terms of health to a state of shocking decline. Half the coral reefs around the world, just since I was a child, they're either gone or they're in a state of decline. Look at what we're doing to ocean wildlife. Not just the areas along the shore, the mangroves and the seagrass meadows, but what we're doing to ocean wildlife across the planet. Over 10,000 years, we're able to bring down the populations of wild animals, birds, forests. We clear-cut forests as the cost of our prosperity. And now we're clear-cutting the oceans, also a cost of our prosperity. Now we know, what are we going to do? Now we know that some of the very elements that have given us prosperity, the burning of fossil fuels, has a downside, a real cost, that for the first time we can account for. We can account for it in the changing chemistry of the ocean, acidification. We can account for it in terms of a warming trend that is causing the polar ice to melt, the ocean to expand, sea level to rise, endangering the very people who are gathered here at this conference. Not just the people who are here, but the cultures that have developed over thousands of years at risk. What are we going to do? Well, there are things that we can do, and it certainly is reflected in the policies in the plans and the ideas that have been articulated in connection with the document just signed, with a conference that is here, with the arrival of the Hokulia and her sister ship here, signifying people pulling together, using their power at this critical point in time, now that we know. We know that it's important not only to look for alternatives to fossil fuels, but to protect the great blue engine, the ocean, that holds the planet steady, that draws down carbon naturally as photosynthesis of the small green things and the seagrass meadows and the mangroves along the shore. That's what has held the planet steady through all of time. Generating oxygen, taking up carbon. While we think of ways to look for alternatives to fossil fuels, we also have to protect the systems that work in our favor. Just as there are carbon credits for keeping forests intact, we need to think about the blue carbon, the ocean, that fish are carbon-based units too. Of course they have a value in terms of consuming them as commodities. We've done that for maybe as long as humans have been around. But now we see there are other values that we have to put on the balance sheet. Maybe the most important thing that island nations can do, and even my own nation, the United States, can do, recognizing that more than half of the United States is underwater, not just financially, I mean, it's submerged, just as the other nations that are represented here, more than half, 10 times, 100 times, perhaps in some cases. Small bits of land, large ocean assets, and with large voice in terms of the ability to influence policies such as the high seas, island nations who have more obviously at risk faster than other larger land masses, need to pull together to exercise a voice for protection of the high seas, while at the same time looking at the power to protect in ways that are before the present time considered not to be necessary because the ocean was too big to fail, right? But now we know it is failing. And we have the power to turn things around. To bank, to protect the assets, to protect our life support system, the systems that give rise to a planet that works in our favor. So, as a witness, I personally have spent thousands of hours under the ocean, getting acquainted with creatures who live in the sea. It's become obvious, in a way, we're all sea creatures. I see it when I go underwater, and then I come up and I see my fellow humans. We are as dependent on the ocean as any fish, or any whale, or any coral reef. Damage to the ocean is not just damage to life in the ocean, it's damage to all of us everywhere. I really want to salute you, all of you, who've come together here to recognize the opportunity, to recognize the power that you have to provide hope for the ocean, hope for the future of humankind. This is a unique moment in history. Never before could we know what we now know. Never again will there be an opportunity as good as what we presently have to take action, to give hope, establishing places within the exclusive economic zones of your respective countries, hope spots. Half the world is beyond national jurisdiction, the high seas. One great, big, blue hope spot that we can exercise influence, exercise power now to protect in a magnified way the voices of island countries, island people. to change everything in favor of a future that is secure. Protect the blue, you protect all the things we care about, our economy, our security, our health, but life itself. The most important thing that any of us extract from the ocean is our existence. We're here because Earth has an ocean, a living ocean. We now have faced the moment when we have been taken from the ocean. The ocean has been giving us life. Now it's our turn to give back to the ocean. We need to look at the blue part of the planet and care for it as if our lives depend on it. Because in fact, they do. Thank you.